Today, we're going to do something sort of different, or at least it's different for me. I'm going to watch me doing a session. And the session we're going to take a look at so I can talk about what I said and what I didn't say is the one that's called Teepa's Gems. It's one of the 7 video clips that you find on our website right away, right there for everyone. And it talks about this gem state model that I developed. So we'll start off by taking a look at the beginning part of it, and then I'll pause and intervene and do a little talking about where I was and what was going on when I created this and what's changed. This was basically videoed in, 2012, which doesn't seem that long ago, but in the world of dementia, oh, 8, 9 years, it matters. So let's take a listen and a look, and then I'll pop back up and we'll do some more talk. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share my sound because that's how we do it here when you want to watch something. And I'm going to have us just listen in.
Time to talk about progression. How does this disease change over time? Now, unfortunately, typically what people talk about is loss. Oh, it's worse, it's worse, it's worse. And it's going to get harder and things are going to get worse. But if that's all you're thinking about, you're missing opportunities. It's not just about the loss. It's always about what do they have left. And so I took the scales that were out there and looked at them. And frankly, they're pretty depressing. They emphasize too much. What's going to happen next? And it's not a good thing. So what I decided is let's stop talking about people as though they were less. And let's start looking at people as though they still have something. My job as a care partner is to figure out how to provide the right support and the right care so they can shine. Quit thinking about them as numbers. Is this a stage 1, 2, or 3, or a level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? And instead, how about if we looked at how are they precious? How are they unique? What do they have that I can still use to help them live life? Because life happens and we're both going to live it. So how's it going to be? So I thought, how about gems? How about if we thought about people as precious and unique? There's not a single gem that I know of that people don't find attractive and interesting. And if I could get you to think about people as having something positive, something good, and I got you to see them that way and understand them that way, then you may be more interested in providing the right setting and the right care so they can shine. And so what I did is I took a scale that's out there, Allen cognitive levels, cognitive disabilities. It's something used in occupational therapy. And I took that and I built off of that. And what we have are gems, 6 of them, 6 levels: sapphires and diamonds and emeralds and ambers and rubies and pearls. All of those are amazing gems, but they're all different. They're all unique. They all have characteristics. Now,
So I'm going to pause there because that's all true and that's still accurate. But what I've realized over time, and I sort of knew it at the time, but boy, has it become evident, is that as long as we talk about us and them, there's this difference where they're them and we're us. In other words, people who are providing support and care are somehow different than people who are receiving support and care. And yet, what I'd say is Rosalind Carter had it right. At any moment in time, I may be receiving support and care from somebody or somehow, but I turn around and in that same moment, I may be offering support and care to someone else, to something else. And so what I'm more interested in than ever is to move away from this us and them mentality. That person has dementia. I don't. Okay. So they have a condition that we can't do anything about. We can't fix, we can't heal, we can't stop. However, at any moment in time, how well their brain is working, how well they're able to get their brain to talk to their body, and how well we're able to support and live together and work together and do things together really depends on both our brains. So maybe I should stop thinking about us and them and think about us. as a whole. So, what I came to understand over these years is that we need to open the box up and go, well, I go through different gem states every day. Trust me. And it's not because there's something wrong with my brain, it's because my brain is working really well. But when my brain is working really well, there are times when my brain rightfully decides it needs to spend time on me, really turn off the outside stuff and really focus on taking care of me. And we tend to call that state sleep state. Because in that time we are less aware of the outside world. We aren't even tuned into it frequently. And if someone were to bring us quickly into it, it would startle us, frighten us, potentially cause us to become acutely distressed. But the point of it is that during that time, my brain is taking a break from taking in data and it's sorting through data. It's cleaning things up. It's actually taking a chance to organize stuff for the next full out day. And so, what I've come to help people, I hope, get their head around is we all go through different gem states each day, whether it's sapphire, true blue, diamond, a little clear, but a little rigid and inflexible. And those times we do what we do without thinking. It's called habit and pattern and routine. And then we have emerald, where we're on the go, but a little flawed. And then we have amber, where we're in a sensory moment. I'm caught in a moment of time and it's all about the sensation. If I'm liking it, I want more. If I don't like it, I want it to stop right now. And then sometimes we're very ruby like in that when I'm going, I'm just sort of on automatic and I'm not thinking. I'm just getting her done. Mostly gross motor, not a lot of skill necessarily involved, but I'm actively doing it, and it could be something that's good for me. It could be something that's not. But when I'm stopped, I have a hard time getting going because I'm sort of object at rest tends to remain at rest unless acted upon by an outside object. And if you just push me, I might push back without thinking too much about it. And then that final state when I'm really more internally focused, yeah, that's that pearl state. So I wanted to put that out there as you're listening to this next part, because when I did this, I was still thinking about people living with dementia as being in different gem states and progressing through those states. And trust me, as the disease progresses, people spend more time in states, different states than they do without dementia. But as a care partner, sometimes it's important for me to notice when I'm spending way more time in a gem state than I used to, because it could mean that my brain's not very well organized right now either. So when you think of this and listen to this next part, really consider the possibility of not us and them and not levels, because I mentioned levels again. Even though I said not wanting to talk about stages and levels, I say it again because people really did talk about levels a lot. And so it was hard for me to let go. You know, people would get to a certain place and they'd spend most of their time in that gem state. And now what we talk is about they spend time in a gem state, but they can go back and forth and hither and yon over the course of a minute, frankly. I mean, it's interesting how brains work. So as you're listening, just listen with awareness that things have changed at PAC. We talk about gem states. We talk about back and forth movement. We talk about all of us experiencing different gem states. And if you've ever watched a kid, sometimes you can watch it in action also, because humans are humans. And some of them may have brain development going on, and some of them may have brain failure. But when we're open to see what's there and experience it, we can be better supports and better providers of care and environmental supports as well. So let's go back and see what we find out now.
The way I organize this is sapphire. Notice how it's on the other hand. It's a little special. It's a brain that's true blue. It's a brain that's not experiencing the changes that come with things like dementia. Instead, this is a brain that's flexible, it's organized, it's able to work with all these other gems. And when you're a care provider, it's really important to be a partner who is flexible and not really struggling on your own. But the reality is, you're probably going to experience some moments that aren't sapphire like. When that happens, take a break, because you do want to be a sapphire to care for the gems. Now,
Now, here's where I've got to say, again, I was a little short sighted because, quite frankly, when we talk about diamonds, it's important that care providers also have some routines, some habits, some patterns of behavior. So you're not having to think about everything. So 8, 9 years ago, we were thinking about the value of being flexible and being able to switch things up in a minute. But here's the reality, it's also really important to create these habits and structures that we can sort of rely on and build off of. Now, the rigidity, however, that's not so great. But being able to really enjoy that routine, that turns out to be really important as a care partner. Otherwise, you're bored. And the ability to be in a sapphire state means that I can recognize what's happening to me and I can sort of say, oh, I need a break. But it doesn't mean I'll get one. And so it means I've got some reserve that I can use. And that could be true whether a person is living with dementia or they're not living with dementia. But what we want to keep in mind is anybody can have sapphire moments. And some people don't have that many and they don't have dementia. It's just they are who they are and they are the way they are. And we just want to respect people as they are and learn to work with them as they are because we can't really fix people. At least I don't think so. So let's see what else Teepa has to say here. Because every now and then, what she says just goes, hang on there. Let's rethink that. So here we go.
Let's talk about the gems: diamonds, emeralds, ambers, rubies, and pearls. Diamonds, clear, sharp, but rigid, have lots of facets to them, but inflexible. Not liking change, but absolutely able to shine. But diamonds can also cut you. They can hurt you because they still are who they were, but they're different. They're clear and they're sharp. So you may not even believe or think that this is real, that they have a dementia, because they know what they're doing, that she's just being stubborn. Maybe, maybe not. Sometimes things like zirconians can trick you. They look like the real deal and they're not. But if you see somebody who's acting like a diamond, if you experience diamond behavior, create the right setting and the right care, things get better. If you don't recognize it, you can get cut. So when someone is in a diamond state, what we're talking about is rigid, inflexible. I'm very good with habit and routine, the things I've always done. I'm not so good with new stuff. I don't like change, and I don't like people telling me what to do if they never told me what to do. If you were always an authority figure, we're probably in good shape. I may follow you around more and shadow you, but I won't argue with you. But if you've never been the boss of me, this is going to get to be a real problem.
Now, I want to pause here because the main reason it'll get to be a real problem is, guess what? I'm wanting to be the boss too. So I want to be thoughtful and be willing to say, I am so sorry. I was trying to help. Hey, listen, I could use your help here. Wonder if we could try some things. And what we call these are positive action starters. They're connectors that help us help by recognizing the person's desire, need, preference, habit of being the boss, being in charge. For people who like to get connected and they aren't somebody who needs to be in control, making sure that they know, I love spending time with you. Listen, could we go do something together? I know, or, oh, I have a big favor to ask of you. I know you love being with me. I have a friend I would really like you to meet. She tends to spend too much time alone. And I'm hoping that if you spend some time with her, she'll get more comfortable. Now, the reason I'm wanting that to happen is I know that right now we're good together and I'm fine with you being with me a lot. But I also recognize if one of us has a brain that's changing and the change is changing in a direction of losing abilities, I need to, if possible, get you comfortable with other people besides me. Because if I'm the only person you're comfortable with, over time, my need to have my habits, my routines, my time, my ability to do a variety of things that aren't necessarily with you, I'm going to need some private time. And you would benefit from some time with someone else. It's not a one-way street. We need to really learn how to support one another. So as the support needs get greater, we're each getting what we need because we've reached out before we are in need to get the support so we can both shine. because there'll come a time when your needs and my needs are getting pretty different. And being together is good, but having time apart is also healthy for us. Unless as a couple or as a family, we have spent all our time in the presence of others, it actually turns out to be an important thing to think about when we can think about it long before we get to a place where, yikes, I don't know how to do this. So let's move on to our emeralds.
Emeralds. Things are changing. And unlike the diamond, it's not clear and sharp anymore. There's a color, you've noticed. This is usually about the time most people get identified as having something going on. This is emerald, green, go. In a stoplight sequence, the green light is go. These people are going, but they aren't always sure where. Their words are not always clear and sharp like they used to be. Their direction and the time frame, it's not always where they think they are and where you thought they were. Emeralds are always flawed, but the emerald doesn't know that. They think they're fine. Everything's fine. So if they have a problem, you're it. Or if there is a flaw, well, it doesn't matter. So this is where we start to notice changes in my ability to do things. I'm making mistakes. I'm skipping steps. I'm getting lost in a day. I get lost in my life. I think you're a different person than you are. I think I'm in a different place than I'm in. I start a task and then I go do another task having not finished that. I get turned around pretty easily. I have a flaw, but if you match up and you don't point out my flaw, it goes a lot better. So with emeralds, things are changing for both of you. And I'm no longer clear and sharp. I am struggling, and I may not know that. Guess who will be struggling? You, if you're not careful, because you want what we had before, and you aren't going to be able to have that. Now,
So, emerald. Well, with someone who isn't living with dementia, being in an emerald state is those times when I'm in the living room and I'm going, what the heck did I come in here for? I was on automatic pilot. I was just doing things the way I do them. And suddenly I realized, man, I have no idea why I'm here. What was did I add the flour in that recipe or did I just think about adding the flour? Let's see, what was I going to ask you when I saw you? We've all had those moments, and those moments don't mean we have dementia. It means our brain skipped steps and it was on automatic. It was doing things the way it always does things. And then suddenly there was a uh-oh moment. And that uh-oh is where it's not working the way I thought it would work. So what I could do is get really hyper focused and go over it, check, 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 and really stress myself, really recognizing I'm not so good at this. Gosh, I'm really struggling. Or I could make the same mistake several times and go, what the heck? And get flustered because I can't figure out why I'm making the mistake. My background, oh, it was sewing. I could always tell when it was time to quit sewing, quit knitting, quit doing the craft I was doing, quit doing the woodworking project, whatever it was. When I made the same mistake twice, couldn't find the things, what you're describing, you know, what I'm talking about. I start noticing my language going down. It's like, whoa, time to quit, time to pause, time to go do something different, time to recharge my batteries. So in the world when you don't live with dementia, those emerald states, those emerald moments are where your brain is just not keeping up with what's always maybe really going on because you're doing it the way you always do it. And you have this rhythm, this pattern, and all of a sudden you find yourself caught up short. So, you know, it could be as literal as I'm jogging and I decide, oh, I should look at my cell phone to see how far I've gone. And I glance at it. Shouldn't have done that while I was jogging, should I? Because that's exactly the moment when that raised sidewalk panel is up and catch your toe and down you go. Now you pick yourself up and you notice you've got blood on your knees and your palms. Nothing really terrible, but it's an uh-oh moment. And it's sort of that emerald where you were doing something and you skipped a step. Oops, should have quit running when I looked at the. So when we don't have dementia, people do these things and we call them accidents. We call them mistakes. When people start to develop dementia, we're so quick to point out flaws, and yet we ourselves have experienced a similar kind of thing, but not often with the extremes. So, no, I am not saying have dementia, not have dementia is exactly the same. No, what I'm saying is we all experience similar kinds of events with brain function. What we want to do is take what we've experienced and offer support, compassion, empathy. Not like I've been where you are. That's not it at all. What I am saying, however, is, you know, when my brain doesn't work right and I'm in that place, it's not a comfortable place to be. So somebody telling me that's not how you do that, that's not the most helpful thing to do. So looks like you're getting your shoes on. Yeah, try try something. Sometimes like when I get my finger, try that here. Let me see. Here, try that. Oh, hey, listen, could you help me a second? So similar kind of strategies, but different to be supportive. And it's acknowledging if somebody's doing something and they say, well, what are you doing here? My penny should drop if I'm able to do that and recognize, wow, me being here was a surprise. Hmm. That means where I think we are and where you think we are, when I think we are and when you think we are two different things. So I want to take that data that they gave me, that information, and consider for a second, okay, what would be the supportive thing to do? And often it's simply, you're wondering what I was doing here. Yeah, you weren't expecting me. Huh. Well, I was planning on being here, but you weren't planning on that. I hate that. Listen, could I at least come for a little bit? Do I have to mention that I live here? Maybe not right now, because I'm not sure it's going to help the other person's brain state. So it's this ability that we have now, understand that my responses were pretty sapphire like in that moment. But if I come back with, "Well, what do you think I'm doing here? Of course I'm here. I live here. Why are you acting so weird?" That's more diamond like. And if I what are you talking what are you talking about? I mean, that doesn't make any sense. What I will tell you is, oh, maybe I'm slipping on into my emerald moment because you so surprised me. I'm all turned around. I don't know what to do next. I'm sort of stuck and I'm not sure where we're headed because in that moment I'm not thinking about your brain change. I'm thinking about what's going on. I can't figure this out. Anyway, can you see sort of how my thinking has changed over time? It's a deeper level of awareness. And again, no thought that dementia isn't hard. It's really hard. And that this isn't a progression because it is. But I want us to recognize sometimes the issues we come up with are because our brain skipped forward and we're matching up in not a healthy way, as opposed to using what we have in excess, our reserve, to help us out in those moments. So let's go back and let's see what else we have to pay attention to here.
Let's talk about the next gem. Ooh, oh, uh-oh, ambers. Yeah, most of you don't really like ambers in real life with dementia, but let me describe amber.
So what you just saw right there, let me just point that out, is that classically what I've said is diamonds and sapphires. Diamonds, nope, sapphire. Sapphire is that gem that's extra. It doesn't quite fit on one hand. Diamonds, unique, special, shine, look a lot like sapphires, but a little more rigid, a little more routinized, a little more like what I like. When I like it, don't like it if I don't like it. Sapphires, right here in the center to support all the gem states. When I'm in a sapphire state of mind, man, I can dial it either way. Diamond, emerald on the go or caught in a cycle. Amber, that's that middle finger, which is only part of the skill set fingers. But when we stick up our middle finger, it usually means, ugh, yuck, I don't like. And so amber is often the gem state that I find most people aren't fond of because it's sensory driven. It's all about sensation. And when somebody is really seeking or not tolerating sensation, it starts to be a sensory experience for the other person too. And at first, we may just be rigid and inflexible, more diamond like, but quite frankly, at times, it can actually be that I have a sensory moment or I get caught in a cycle. So just let's listen to the rest of that amber because it is a thing that many people are challenged by being in an emerald state, and yet amber is what a lot of us are occasionally. I mean, I'm just saying.
Amber is one of the most interesting gems because it actually isn't a found in the ground gem. It's something like sap coming out of a tree and something getting stuck in it, and then more sap, and then it hardens up a little bit. It's something caught in a moment of time. And that's where these folks are. They're in a moment of time. It's all about sensation. It's all about what does it feel like? What does it look like? What can I do with it? Do I like it? Don't I like it? I'm in a moment. I don't have caution. I don't have safety awareness. I'm all about if I want it now. And if I don't like it, I'm not doing it. And so this is often where, as a care provider, you really struggle because my behavior is so inconsistent with who I used to be. But an amber is an amber. They aren't a diamond or an emerald, and they certainly aren't a sapphire. So this is the point in the disease where you might see me engaging in ways because I'm still very interested and curious, but I don't know whether it's safe or not. So I may pick up things and do things with them, and it's not okay. I invade your space. I take things. I mess with stuff. And I may have a low sensory need or a high sensory need for any of the five senses, but I don't have safety awareness and I wear you out because I'm not always good at when and when not to sleep. It's sort of like if I feel like it, I do. Not all the time, but it's important to notice in the moment.
So, amber moments. Those moments when if I'm in sensory need, I'm seeking. Um, if I'm intolerant of a sensation, I'm hiding. And so, a perfect example is trying to help someone bathe or help someone dress or undress or deal with things that are to do with continence or mouth care. And so, a lot of our distress around someone in an amber state is the sensation we're giving them isn't one they're enjoying or liking. And the sensation they're seeking isn't one we feel comfortable about because that's too much sugar. That's not your cookie. I mean, you've already had some things. Oh, no, 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 that's not safe. And so often it calls on the care support person, the person who's in charge of the environment, to start to sound and feel like a parent. And unfortunately, we're talking about adults and we're talking about people who are full size and we're talking about people who may or may not appreciate someone else calling them on something. And all it makes me want to do is get away from you, hide from you, fight with you, because I'm simply not appreciating your perspective. And quite honestly, how many of you have ever been in a moment where you want another cup of coffee? Yes, I know it's caffeine and I know it's late, but I'm cold and I just really want a cup. I'm really craving a cup of coffee right now. And we often describe it as cravings. And so we all have habits or routines that when we get stressed or distressed, often that's our go to. And when we can't have what we like, we get grumpy or hangry or whatever it is. But what we want to appreciate as a care partner is when that's going on, simply becoming our own amber isn't particularly helpful. Being a diamond and rigid and inflexible in that moment, no, maybe not. So the idea of going, is it worth it? Is it not? Is it okay? Is it really dangerous or is it just risky or is it just annoying? And if it's just annoying, the idea of letting it go and taking a break and seeing what I need to do for myself so I'm in a better place. And if it is risky, how do I reduce risk by using substitution? What kind of sensory stuff do they like that I could offer in substitution? How can I present? Ooh, oh my, really figuring out the strategy of how I'm going to engage you. Because if I don't make myself and what I'm offering attractive, not likely we're going to go somewhere. And if what I'm doing isn't particularly yummy or satisfying or comfortable, I've got to figure out how to make it tolerable. So I bring that up because I think often This is the point in the condition called dementia that many people get flustered and frustrated and start pointing fingers and labeling if they haven't done it before. And the reason that's often happening is we aren't taking care of our own sensory needs, recognizing our own intolerance, our own place where we need something different than what we're getting. So, watching me say this stuff, I think it's still accurate, but I also think we need to do a little more homework sometimes as care supporters to do a good job. So, let's see where we go with our rubies and our pearls.
Ruby. Now, Ruby's changing yet again. We're no longer a caution light, we're at the stoplight. And what stops is all fine motor skill. But what do I keep? Big movement and strength. I've got some strength, but I don't have skill. So, what you're going to notice in those times, I've lost fine motor in my eyes, in my fingers, in my mouth, and in my feet. So, I have trouble figuring things out visually. I have trouble chewing and swallowing sometimes, but for sure, getting speech out. But I still have rhythm and I still have music. That's the gift. That's something I can still do because it feels like to you it should be skill, but it's actually sort of automatic. So with Rubies, although I lost the fine skill, I still have the big. So my hands now are more gross. I don't manipulate, I hold. And because I keep strength, unfortunately, I can grab onto something. And if that something is you, I could hurt you. I don't mean to. I like pressure. I like to hold on to stuff. I don't always know how to let go. Sometimes you're having that problem too, because you're again slipping from here to here because you're going from a sapphire to a diamond. If you find those moments, and you will with rubies, because it's so scary, I can't settle down. I can't get started. It's a struggle. You need to take that step back and time yourself out. Take a deep breath, get oxygen to your brain, let go of what was so you can be that sapphire. Oh, and that's critically important when we get to this last.
So, with rubies, what we're talking about is gross motor. So, not so much fine detail. So, has anybody ever woken up with drool on your pillow, or when you're sleeping in the chair and you go, oh, my heavens? Or you find that you chew and you're trying to talk and chew at the same time and you have problems with that. You're never supposed to do that. I know your mom said that early on, but just in case. Or you're sort of having a hard time getting your eyes to work for you because you're really tired. Um, and it's not just about the extremities. I know in the video clip, I talk a lot about using your fingers, your lips, your tongue, your mouth, your eyes, the detail of your eyes, getting your eyes to track and work together and get depth perception, and your feet to have skill in the foot, the forefoot, and but it's also the micro control over your bowel and your bladder. It's also that control over the different portions of your spine so you can move in a coordinated segmental movement. So, what that means is sometimes it's really difficult to go from one position or posture to another, from sitting to standing, standing to sitting, from sitting to lying down to rolling over, being able to move effectively and be able to get where you want to be, how you want to be there safely. And yet, when we put on music or do something automatic, good grief, I can climb stairs. I can dance. I can sing. I can do things um, that count, spell things. I can just suddenly do things, and then I suddenly can't. So the hard part about dementia is not that, it's just about these brain states. It's also that it comes and it goes. And when it's here, it's so hard to not have it here all the time. And yet, when I don't have dementia, my ruby moments are moments. I'm raking the yard and I'm doing a really good job. And yet I just raked right over my flower bed and pulled half the flowers out by accident. It was just one hard rake, but I didn't realize what I was doing because I wasn't really using my eyes skillfully or my body skillfully. I was just in the pattern. You ever done it? So It's not always bad either. I mean, there are times when running or doing something, but we have to be thoughtful because we want to, if we're going to do that, we want to run on a very flat surface with very few error problems. But I also want to be aware that when I do that, if I'm getting tired, I might want to pause because I don't have really great fine skill. How's it going with you in the gems? Does it sort of take on a different layering? I hope. Maybe getting you to think outside the box just a little. Well, let's go and listen to the pearl state information. Now, remember, for us, that's meditation, sleep, those kinds of things.
This gem, the pearl. Now, I selected the pearl for this state because at that moment, think of the outside of an oyster shell. And as you look at that oyster shell, I've got to tell you, that is one of the ugliest things you'll ever see in this world. And you never think that on the outside of an oyster shell, you're going to find this amazing thing. And at the end of this disease, what this disease does to the human body is pretty ugly. It turns on reflexes. It shuts down systems. It's making it very difficult. I lose my gross motor. And what I'm ruled by, reflexes. I'm actually stuck. I'm trapped. But with the right care, the shell relaxes just a little. And in there you find this amazing gem, a pearl, built layer upon layer on a single grain of sand. This amazing gem, still in there, but often trapped. And sometimes, if you're not careful, you spend way too much energy worrying about the shell, and you miss the most important thing. That's not the gem. With the right care, you get to see the real gem. This amazing person, not who they used to be, but I'm still in there. I'm me, but I'm different. I'm not a ruby or an amber or an emerald or a diamond. I'm not the sapphire I may have once been, but I'm still there and I'm still me, but I'm different. The question for all of us is, can we see the precious and unique? Can we experience the person as this amazing gem of great value and give them the right setting and the right care so they can shine?
So, when we think about gems, I hope this little watching me has gotten us to a place where we can think beyond gems for people living with dementia and realize gem states are states of mind. And when people are progressing through dementia, by understanding how brains change in everyday function, everyday use, it can give us a little window into the world of living with the brain changes that come with dementia. But even more importantly, it can provide us with background data to help us as we move forward in our support role in creating the settings and the care that allow us to support individuals and get our own support in place. So as we move through this journey of dementia with someone we care about, we do what we can to stay whole and well so that we can be that setting and support provider. And they can offer back to us that which makes us, our brains work well. And we know when we need a break and a timeout, and we seek those around us to create a team. Because the one thing I know for sure after years and years, we can't do it alone. And if we do, we shortchange both ourselves and the people we care about. And sometimes we can feel alone. And in those moments, it's really important to look around and say, who can I get up with to find what I need? So my setting is the right setting for me to offer the care and support that makes a difference. So I hope this little session got you thinking outside that box, because what I wanted to do is update you. Our gem states model continues to grow and change as we continue to figure out more and more about this thing called dementia and brain change, and more about human beings too, and the role we have to play in this wonderful world that we live in. Till next time, take care.